All right, Steve Augeri is here today to promote his new album, Seven Ways Till Sunday. And he's also doing the Parti-Gras tour with Bret Michaels, Night Ranger, Jefferson Starship, and Mark McGrath. So we're going to talk about that, plus his old bands, Tall Stories, Tyketto, Journey, all this and more coming right up.
Hey everybody, Chuck, how you doing?
Good.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah. So I was just going to say though, it's interesting. I think Bated Breath is that kind of the first single?
That was the first single. We released it as far back as it's a year. It's almost not quite a year, but it's going on a year. Some time had passed before I had released something about it. I usually try to put something out every year, and just to let everybody know I'm still alive and kicking. And so we put it out last February for Valentine's Day because it was just appropriate, I thought. That was the first single. Yeah, correct.
Okay. Because I think Magic. I think that's my favorite song on the record. That was the first song. It's like that. It's kind of like a catchy rocker.
I appreciate that. Well, that was, I grew up with the Beatles, and that started that whole power pop, up-tempo power pop, then things that just went through the decades and decades on from, the Clash and, just on and on, all these great power pop bands throughout the decades. And it's, I think, well, here's a funny story. The running title initially was called Foosteen or Spring Fighters, because it has a Bruce Springsteen slight vibe with the glockenspiel, like a Born to Run, and it also something about it just reminded me of the energy of the Foo Fighters, or maybe the Killers even. So I'm glad you like it. Frankly, I really appreciate that. I knew there was something special there. It was an animal to mix. It was the hardest song to mix because it just had so many moving parts, and I'm not quite sure we got it right, but sometimes you just have to cut bait and release the thing.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. I think that would be a fun one to do live too. Like, is that something? Are you going to include more of these original songs in your live sets?
Yeah, I was just on the phone with our keyboard player, Craig Pullman, and we were just discussing the key to do it in, and we had recorded it a half step down, and we're back to bring it back up to normal for A440. So we were just discussing keys and what key to learn it in and what key not to learn it in. So yeah, we're looking forward. We're planning on doing that and rehearsing 4 songs from the record and see which ones, fit and which ones get a reaction during a live show as opposed to just on a record,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I noticed that you were coming to Arizona and you're playing this, I think what's it called? The Good Life Festival with Kansas and Kenny Loggins.
That's right.
Yeah, and then I noticed, so you have a song on the new record called Desert Moon that was co-written with Neal Schon. I feel like maybe that one would be a cool one to do in Arizona, especially if you could do it like when the sun's setting or something. That'd be kind of cool.
Interesting. Yeah, because of the desert. Yeah, that is that's a special song to me, obviously, because it was written with Neal as far back as 15 years ago or so, and that one afternoon, we got to rehearsal early, he and I, and he's always noodling and playing and jamming. And I said, let's jam. And so I ran behind Dean Castanovo's kit and he has his mic set up, and we started jamming, and we created that song in about an hour or two. And I'm really proud of that song because it evolved from that little small seedling. It took on another life, and I think it's one of the strongest songs on the record. I'm really proud of that song, Desert Moon.
Now, how does that work? If you wrote songs with the guys from Journey, did they just give you that when you left the band? Like you can take that and use on your solo stuff, or was there certain songs they wanted to keep, or how does that work?
Well, certainly after 15 years, for example, Desert Moon, and then with Jonathan Cain, a co-write with Never Far From Home. Certainly, if they never went ahead and released it, and I was if not well, I was at least certainly a key writer, um, principal writer on the song. I could certainly go ahead and do it, and as long as they get their credits and their monetary split, everybody's happy, you know.
Yeah, they definitely need that monetary split.
Yeah, God bless him. Yeah, yeah. So it's a great feather in my cap to to include them in the credits and say that I've written these particular. At least you know two songs, or at least half of two songs are going to be good on the record, right?
Oh no, yeah. Well, so was Magic? Who was that co-written? Because like I said, that one was my favorite. So
That's great. So Adam Holland, my guitarist for over 10 years, who used to play with a wonderful band called Valentine.
Hmm.
Uh, Adam wrote this wonderful song for his daughter one year, going back about a little over 3 years. And we demoed it, and it was fantastic. And it inspired me to branch out. And, you know, sometimes you write a song, and then from that song, you write as many as 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 songs. And so he inspired me to do a power pop song, getting back to the power pop
Mhm.
genre. And I thought, well, I think it would be great, since he inspired the song, to bring him in and co-write the song with me, because lyrically he did such a great song on this other song, and he's just a great writer, and he's also a great lyricist. So this is one song on the record where I shared the lyrics, maybe 3 of the songs on the record out of 11. This is one we co-wrote both the music and the lyrics, and it was really a great partnership. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like playing the more rockin' songs live, or the ballads, or both?
Uh, it doesn't matter the tempo or the genre, as long as there is an emotional connection, or a connection, you know,
Hmm.
something, an emotional connection that you can convey to an audience. It could be an audience of 1, it could be just you there, or it could be an audience of 70,000. Whatever you can get, if you feel there's a connection and you've got some kind of rapport, I don't care what kind of song it is.
Hmm.
I mean, because you know, anything from when I was with Journey, anything from Open Arms to you know, Separate Ways, anything in between the two was it was wide open. And if the audience reacts in a positive way, and their hands go up in the air, or they stand up, or they just, you know, you could see it in their eyes and their body language, that's the song we'll play.
Yeah, no, I did some deep digging into some of your older bands. I found like some of the Tall Stories, because I heard you were in Tall Stories and Tyketto. So I was like, I got to hear your work with those ones too. So I checked it out. I was like, oh, this is really good. I liked Tall Stories. And then I heard something about Tyketto. The fans were kind of upset because it wasn't supposed to be a Tyketto record. It was supposed to just be and then they named it Tyketto. And I was like, I'm surprised the fans were upset, because I liked the songs that I heard, especially Let It Go. I thought that was that yours, right?
That's a rocker. Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
a fun one.
Yeah. The thing about Tyketto was, yeah, I went to write a record with them, and it was only supposed to write with them for a week, and we wrote an entire album in 7 days. And that was it. I was going to go home and just go on my merry way. And after the week, unbeknownst to me, they were kind of splitting from Danny Vaughan, who's just a superstar vocalist in his right. He's just standalone, incredible guy. But they were splitting, and I didn't know this. And I think they kind of kept it under the hat and wanted to see how our personalities gelled, and if we worked and wrote together well. And we really did. In 7 days, we had a ball, and we wrote this record. And yeah, it was just, speaking of magic, it was truly magic working with those guys. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So talk about those old days, like before, in the 80s and 90s. You were kind of involved in the New York rock scene, right?
Yeah. Where are you located? Are you in
Well,
LA?
I'm actually in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm originally from Seattle. I moved here in Arizona like 2008, and so I love
Seattle.
it. Yeah.
Right on. You're beautiful.
Yeah, they definitely did not have a lot of that style of rock in Seattle when I grew up in the 90s. It was all grunge.
Sure,
So,
but you had that. I mean, you had an identity which a lot of people can't say, and it was a great identity, and it ruled. It ruled rock and roll for a long time, and then, you know, it was a healthy change. it ruined it put my career on hold for a while, but it was a necessary evil, if you want to call it an evil.
Right.
Where were we? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. No, I was just gonna. Yeah, I was wondering if you were involved in that in the New York scene, because I think there was the bands like Twisted Sister, obviously, and then like later it was like Skid Row, Trickster, and Danger. Like, were you associated with all those guys, or you kind of came up at the same time, right?
Yes, and yet not so much. We were centralized more in Manhattan, only because we kind of honed our craft in this little place called the Bitter End in Greenwich Village.
Hmm.
And that's known for Bob Dylan's and on and on. I mean, just it used to be a coffee house kind of place where you'd go up with your guitar and do a folk set. George Carlin started there. They used to have comedy, and then later on they had rock and roll bands, and they'd have as many as 6, 7, 8 bands a night. And we got to playing there a minimum of once a week, I think every Wednesday. And we went from 5 people in the audience, and we'd have to go out in the middle of winter in the freezing cold and give out tickets, and they would pay maybe $2 to get in, and we'd get 50 cents out of the $2, or there was some kind of something along those lines. And we'd have to go there and like hucksters, I suppose is what they called it back then. But we really learned our craft in that little nightclub, Bitter End. If you guys are ever in New York City downtown in Greenwich Village, go see it. There's a lot of history. The stage was as small as a postage stamp, and back in the day, I used to fall into the tables a great many times because it was so small. And I think I used to drink back then too. So there was a twofold reasoning there, but it was great times, great band. Great talented guys, absolutely fantastic.
That was Tall Stories you're talking about?
This was with Tall Stories, yeah.
Yeah. And because you also were a background singer for Michael Schenker, right?
That's correct. Well, yes. Let's go there. However, I just want to talk about New York for a second.
Yeah, no, please.
During that time, they had a wonderful, Max's Kansas City, CBGB's, there was a scene, the China Club, Limelight, and there was a wonderful scene, a New York music scene that has all but disappeared. And if it's still here, or something probably has returned, but I'm just probably too old to know about it, and it's underground. But there was a wonderful New York scene that we were a small part of. I think we were looking at a bigger picture, and at one time we had a manager that was a world-class manager, Bud Prager, who managed, of course, Foreigner, Mountain, Giant, who's, if you want to talk about giants, Dan Huff and Giant, and Bad Company at one time. So we were their little baby band, and we were shooting big and shooting for the stars.
Yeah. Well, didn't you? And I don't know if this is accurate because it's on Wikipedia, but it says that you guys were nominated for Best Debut Album and Best Debut Male Vocalist at the New York Music Awards. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's correct. It was a great shot in the arm. I don't know if you guys remember Curtis Steiger. He walked away with Best Vocalist, and Mary J. Blige also. That was the year she came up.
Oh.
God knows she's had a great career herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys do some? I think I saw that you played a show with Mr. Big. Did you play with a lot of the bigger bands, like either opening for them or?
Well, we were fortunate enough to get the first leg. I think it was the first leg of their tour. And it was, in fact, so I think we played at a minimum of a month to a month and a half. The record company mustered up a couple of dollars for us. Thank you for that. That was the least they could have done. They put us on the road with them. And what a great band to go out there, watch them each night and watch these pros and these amazing musicians and singers, Eric Martin. And I remember, I think it was Daytona, but I could be wrong, but we were somewhere on the Florida coast, and there might have been 10 to 15, 20 people in the audience, and they had reached #1 in the charts with To Be With You. And there we were with this #1 band, with a #1 song in America, and we were playing with the 20 people maximum.
Weird.
So we celebrated, of course, like it was, New Year's Eve in 1999 and all that. But of course, from then on, things just every door opened for them after that. And they just, everybody knew about Mr. Big.
Yeah. So then I know, like, I've heard you tell the story a couple of times where then you did Tyketto, and then you ended up just quitting music and you were working maintenance at the Gap. During that time when you quit, were you doing music on the side at all, or did you just not even sing for like a year?
I definitely, yeah. So it's as simple as this. So I'm not quite sure. I think it was about 37. And I had released 2 records, and I had my career had exceeded all my peers that I grew up with, all the guys I rubbed elbows with in my neighborhood. And it was wonderful. It was fantastic. I was content thinking, because it's a 1 in a million, to make it in this industry. And I don't even know what the odds are today. It's probably more difficult. But I found myself fortunate, and I thought I had to put my feet, stay grounded, and think of the reality of raising my son and my wife and putting a roof over their head. So I was, my cousin worked for the Gap, and she knew I was a construction worker for 20 years as I was doing rock and roll in New York. So there was an opening in their maintenance department where I'd swing a hammer and change light fixtures and toilet bowl seats and paint fitting rooms. And I worked for them for a year. And I deep down, of course, your DNA is, you want to be that singer, that dream, but I had to put it on the shelf and, grow up a little bit and take care of business, my family. And that's when I got a phone call either from John or Neal, or Neal and John. And the rest is, as they say, history.
So but were you ready for that opportunity? Like, had you been still rehearsing? Like, did you cut your hair? Like, was this something you had totally just given up, or were you kind of still hoping that maybe something on the back burner would happen?
Yeah, well, I had a mild haircut. I guess it was shorter, and yet I didn't conform and comply to, that it wasn't what I was about. I was still a rocker, and I still had, an appearance. Perhaps that's, I'll probably have this hair, when they put me in a box when, years from now, but maybe I'll have it. I will see about that. But yeah, but, I'm sorry, where were we?
Yeah. So then I was just wondering how ready you were when you got that call. Like, it was
No voice. If you don't sing for a year, there's nothing.
So you hadn't done any like weekend gigs or?
Oh, no. So absolutely nothing. And so I begged them for 2 weeks of preparation. And even 2 weeks is not enough. So I went out there 2 weeks later, and I had 5 days to record and audition with them. I did 2 songs a day, 1 classic hit song and 1 new song that he had written. So we recorded 10 songs, 5 hits and 5 new songs, 5 future hits, right? And by the 5th day, something clicked. I think, day 1 was like, day 2, with a little bit more. But by day 5, I was hitting all cylinders. And that's when I got lucky. And that's how it happens. I mean, I was just fortunate in that respect.
Yeah. Well, and I heard you say that, was it John Kolodner that said, they gave you some really good advice and said, take notes, like watch what, learn from these guys, because these guys are the best. And you did, right? You kind of tried to watch what they were doing, and obviously you're in it too. So you're learning that way. What did you learn by watching them and seeing how they work and being a cog in that machine?
Well, so just imagine you're green, and you go any profession or any kind of industry, and you going in there as a what do they call them? When you're a carpenter, a trade. What are they? Not a trade.
Apprentice?
Well, you're certainly an apprentice. And I went in there as an apprentice, and if I had any, smallest brain in the world, it'd be the most intelligent thing to do was to observe and absorb and sponge off these guys and learn their craft. What was I not doing before, and what are these guys doing? That's put them on the top of the heap. And so, of course, and every day was a lesson to learn and a day at school. Sure.
So what did you learn? Like what kinds of things
Well,
you do differently? Because you'd been in other bands. You've been in Tall Stories. You've been in Tyketto. You know, backup vocalist with Michael Schenker. You'd seen other bands how they operated. What did they do differently? You think that put them above so that they're? I mean, because obviously they're a multi-platinum group.
well, for starters, when you achieve something of that nature, there's just an aura, and you carry yourself. Look, there's a confidence in them that was lacking in me. So, I mean, let's face it. If you pen a song like "Faithfully" and "Don't Stop Believing," "Open Arms," and down the line, you've got a nice track record there, and you can walk with your head high. And so there was just something. Even just this is one small thing I'm thinking of now, but you know, the other thing was John Colodner turned to me because he told me to come meet him at the Four Seasons in Uptown Manhattan. And I walked in, and at the time it was 1998, I think. And so I was in full grunge regalia. I had my plaid shirt, my ripped jeans at the knee, and my black construction boots. And he took one look at me. He says, "Listen, you're going to have to start, apart from the advice was keep your eyes and ears open." He said, "You're going to have to, from here on in, I want you to dress like a rock star." And so I took that to heart, whatever that is, dressing like a rock star. The other thing, which was very important and very intelligent, was he says, "Whatever you do, don't spend your money." He said, "Put your money in the bank." And that was very good advice as well.
No, that is really good advice. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you what your thoughts were on the current Journey situation. And I'll be respectful if you want to say no comment. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I'm not looking for clickbait as I'm accused of, but there's some stuff going on with Journey right now. And I just wondered if you had an opinion or because you've been in that camp, so you kind of have more of a opinion than I would, knowing,
Sure.
having been inside of that.
Sure. Of course, you have to ask. And look, if you asked me about them, or if you asked me about my next door neighbor and if their marriage was kind of rocky, it's the same thing. It's not my business. It's none of my business. However, it's a relationship that's going on for 50 years. And that's extraordinary just to achieve that milestone. And if you don't have cracks in your foundation, I don't know, you must also walk on water. So nobody walks on water. They've been together this long. There's a good chance that I'm sure they could patch things up, except they have been, things have been a little rocky lately, more so than ever. But, that's all I could say. It's theirs to work out, their issue to work out. And I hope they do, for the sake of the band and equally for the sake of the fans, because you can't help but think that it affects them as well.
Yeah. Well, because the latest thing was the singer was saying he's getting frustrated and he's saying, well, if you want to fire me, fire me. So I just wondered, like, what if he split, would you go back to Journey? Would you think that would be something that they would come bring you back into the fold?
Well, I would probably say no and no.
Really?
And I'll tell you why. Yeah, because if they asked me to go, for starters, look, I've had my day in the sun. I've had my run, and I think it was wonderful. Arnell has done that, and probably twice as long as I've been there, and he's done it magnificently. And I just, I think they need to patch it up within the current team. I just think that's the way it is, because if I were to go with whatever faction, because unfortunately right now it appears to be like there's two camps. I love those guys, if I could call it love, and respect them equally for different reasons, because they gave me the biggest shot anybody could, biggest opportunity anyone could ever have. And I would hate to turn my back on one or the other. So that it'd probably be just better. I just think it would just be
Yeah.
And I'm happy. I'm content doing what I'm doing. those guys still go out 5 days a week, and I can't physically do that. The joy would, after the first show, I'd be back in, like a deer in the headlights. Is my voice going to work after the third show and the third day? And that's not where I'd like to be.
Yeah. So, because I know that was the issue why you left in the first place. There were some voice issues, but you've fixed that now because you've got tour dates lined up. It's more than 1 or 2 a week, right? You're doing like 3 or 4 dates a week.
Yeah. Well, with Bret. Well, so this summer I have the wonderful opportunity, and I was asked to join Bret Michaels and
Parti-Gras.
Fantastic Parti-Gras 2023. And that's going to be a blast. And we're going to do 3 nights in a row, but I'm not going to go out there and sing an hour and a half. I'm going to go out there and do a few songs a night. And that's, I could do that standing on my head.
Oh, okay. So that makes a difference too, is how long you're singing for.
Huge. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Cause like when I go to see Guns N' Roses, like, dude, he was doing like 3-hour shows. Like they played almost every song and I loved it, but I was like, God, that's got to hurt your voice.
Well, I wonder how many shows did they do a week? Good for
Roses. I feel like they were full-time touring. It seemed like it was 5 days a week. I could be wrong.
Yeah, God bless Axl. Good for you, Axl.
Yeah, that's crazy. So that's good. That makes more sense. So you will be on the Parti-Gras. You'll be on every show. You're just not going to do an hour and a half. You're going to do.
Oh yeah, I'm going to come out. You know what? Mark McGrath and I are coming out as guest artists, and we're going to after Jefferson Starship comes Night Ranger, my good buddy Jack Blades, and then Bret comes out with the Bret Michaels band, and during his set, he's going to take a 15-minute break or so, 15, 20-minute break, and bring Mark out or myself out during that set. And we're going to break up the show a little bit. We're going to throw these monster hits at them in the middle of his monster hits. And then we're probably going to come out, I'm sure we'll come out for an encore all together and bring the house down.
Oh, okay. So you'll like play with his band then basically. Okay. And Mark McGrath, that's cool.
Mark is the equivalent of Bret in personality and energy. This guy, those two dudes could be brothers, they just have that weight in personality and energy. And to know one and then meet the other guy, you say, if you had a blindfold, you say, you were picking up the same vibes. They're great guys, great personalities, and great, 2 of them. I don't know. They're both great showmen. I think they might one-up each other every now and then.
I need to get both those guys on my show. It's weird because Mark McGrath follows me on Instagram, which I think is I was like, I don't know if he did it on a mistake or something. I keep trying to get him on the show and he doesn't respond to my messages, but he follows me. I don't know. So I got to try to get him on.
For you. I will put in a word for you, my friend.
Oh, thank you. That's very cool. Yeah. I hope to see that show, or like I said, the, what is it called? The Life Festival in Queen Creek. What you're coming to Arizona, that's Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
What do they call it? The something life, new life.
I think it's good time, good life.
Good life. I think that's what it. Yeah.
I mentioned it earlier. You had it perfectly. Before.
Yeah, I had it perfect. I screwed it up already. I was going to ask you too about this other thing I read. You did this super group called Underworld with Kee Marcello, who I also had on the show. It said the recordings were never released. Is there any plans to get those out?
So shortly after I exited Journey, that's a nice way to put it, right? I was released. That's a really good way to put it too. Kee contacted me to see if I would be interested in doing it. And of course, Virgil Donati and Kee as a guitarist, holy cow, yeah, I'd love to. And in fact, at the very tail end, we had a childhood friend of mine, James Lomenzo, was going to be involved.
From White Lion, and isn't he in Megadeth too? He's all over.
Right. Right now, he's just they're all over these massive stages all over the world in Megadeth, back in Megadeth, right? So so I'm scattered. I'm sorry. Where were
you're doing this? The band with Kee and James.
No wonder I forgot.
Underworld, I think it's called, right?
So sadly, what we did was we recorded 4 songs. Kee wrote these amazing prog songs, which I have, I was a big prog fan, as I am with most music. I'm a big music fan, and certainly comes with that. I was, grew up with ELP and Yes and Genesis. and bands of that nature. And he wrote some really masterpieces. And so we recorded these 4 songs. He had them mixed, and that was as far as it got. It
Mm.
kind of stalled out. The car ran out of gas. And however, those are available, I think, somewhere out there on YouTube, and they're
Oh, okay.
marvelous. So there was one song called Metaphorically Speaking, which was fantastic. I mean, it could have easily been a Queen song off of Innuendo. It was that kind of majestic, you know, masterpiece, really. Kee's a hell of apart from just being a great guitarist and writer, he's a hell of a singer as well.
Yeah, I love his. I think his side project is. I think it's called Top of the World. I had him on, and I
love
listened to that album a lot. I was like, oh, this is really good stuff. It's just.
I bet it is. I'm sure it
Yeah.
is.
It's got to be hard though to get people to listen to music. I mean, it's like, this is good that you're doing this podcast, and hopefully this helps a little bit. But it's just so competitive. It's such a flooded market. There's so much, because people say there's no good music, and I think it's the opposite. I think there's too much good music, and it's hard to find it because it's such a flooded market.
It's funny that you say that. It is definitely a flooded market because in 2020, everybody went into their shell, right? We were all in lockdown, and which inspired me and motivated me to record this record and finish a record and put it out. But I'm certainly, I can't imagine I was alone. I'm sure everybody had to do the same thing. So, of course, as soon as things started loosening up, you can imagine there's your floodgate. It's open, and lo and behold, that's exactly what happened about a year ago. So much music was coming out, and I was tempted to put my record out a year ago, but again, because of the same reason, and frankly, that's just about when Journey put out their record, and I was just about to release it, and I stopped and I said, "That's a bad idea. I don't want any kind of comparisons. I don't want any kind of, competition. Let each of us have our day in the sun and and so I postponed the record. I'm glad I did, because I worked on a couple extra songs. And but yeah, this is the interesting thing. Nowadays, you could go on YouTube and you can listen to a song like back in the day, the A&R people used to get your record or your cassette deck, right? And they'd listen to the first 20 seconds and they'd hit fast forward and it'd cue to the next song and the next song and the next song. And I think that's how people are listening to music today. And the one thing, I mean, I produced my record and I treated every moment and every second of each song like it was the same. The beginning of the song needs to grab you right away. And the end of the song has to keep your attention to the very last note, to the end of the fade or whatever, So sometimes people don't even get a chance to I mean, if you build a song, you write a song, you want it to build, right? Dramatically, you want it to dynamically bring them in at the first and then build and build and build. Like, are you familiar with Ravel's Bolero? Classical piece?
No.
Well, after this, I want you to Google it and listen to it.
Okay.
Beautiful. It starts with one instrument, very piano, very softly. And by the end of the song, it's the same repetitive melody, but it's on 11. I don't know if you can see my shirt. This one goes to 11, right?
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah, Spinal Tap reference. Yeah.
So, and it's bringing down the walls. It's the ceiling's coming down because it's built to this. And that's sometimes if 20 seconds of a song and you move on, you're missing the good stuff. The meat is at the end of the song, the real, So when you guys get a chance to listen to my music, whether it's purchasing the CD or iTunes or Amazon or anything like that, do it where you have some time to listen to the end of the song. I beg of you.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff.
That's where the goods are at.
Absolutely. No, people they can listen for free. They can stream it.
And you can listen for free.
Yeah, but even though it's free, it still helps you when you get the streams, helps that those streams get up and then more people will listen to it. Hopefully get on some playlists and things. And
it doesn't hurt. Gone are the days where a musician, I don't know how you could become the next Beyonce or the next Harry Styles. Or I'm trying to think of a band right now. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I don't know how they can sell music. I mean,
it's a lot of you got a placement like commercials. Like I know Rival Sons. I love Rival Sons.
Oh, I love.
And they have that song in, I think it's a Toyota or one of the car commercials. And I hear it multiple times a day. I'm like, I just keep thinking like ka-ching, ka-ching every time that they play that song. So I think it's like something like that, like a movie, a TV show.
That's correct.
And that's really competitive too. But yeah, it's just this game that you got to play. And then I think the other way musicians make money is from the merch, the t-shirts and cool stuff like mugs. And I mean, that's what some band said, that we're a traveling t-shirt sales company and we, our jingles sell the t-shirts. So,
well, that's true. However, you have to get to the point where people are going to walk through the gate and sit in the seats because of the music first and foremost. And then you have the opportunity to either sell a t-shirt or not. But
yeah. Well, and I think that helps too, like with the Parti-Gras, because you got so many big names. I mean, that just seems like a fun concert. Same with the Good Life Festival. You got the Blue Oyster Cult in Kansas. And that seems like a great show.
it won't, it's not, it's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be great. It doesn't hurt. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, thanks so much, Steve. I'll let you get back. I'm sure you got more stuff to do or more interviews or whatever. So I always end promoting a charity at the end of each episode. Is there a charity that you've worked with before or something that you want to give a shout out to here?
Yeah, I do. I had the opportunity to work with a wonderful St. Jude's charity, the Walburton Foundation. However, and I'm just going to plug them real quick, but today I want to give a big ups to the Northshore Animal League here in New York on Long Island, because I rescued a beautiful, my Simon Earl was his name. He was part lab and part hound, and they were fabulous, and they do great things rescuing animals from all over the country.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that one. Isn't that the one Howard Stern's wife is?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
But I have to say one more. There's one great rescue by the name of the Bissell Foundation. And if you ever had a vacuum cleaner or a rug shampooer, those are the Bissell people.
Mm-hmm.
And they have an enormous and a fantastic foundation that rescues dogs, animals all over the country. And, it's just nice to give a paw up, give a round of applause. People.
Yeah.
For the North Shore Animal League.
Okay. Well,
friends at the Warburton.
All right. Well, thank you. I'll put that in the show notes along with your website, and people can check you out on tour with the Parti-Gras or the Good Life Festival. Is there other shows that you're doing that are not part of the Parti-Gras?
Yeah. They're multiplying. We just got booked. We're going to go over to Chile for three shows.
Oh.
We're going to be in Epcot. I think it's in March 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. So the calendar's filling up. So
okay.
I'm hoping to see everybody all around the country.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for doing this.
I'll see you in Arizona, my friend.
Yeah, Good Life Festival. Like I said, I got it right now. So yeah, it's 2 days. So maybe I'll at least see you, and then I think Kenny Loggins is the second day. So I'll try to make that too.
Right. I have a great Kenny Loggins story, but I'll tell you next time.
Oh, next. Oh, you're gonna save. Okay, teaser. All right, we got to come back. All right, I'll see you later.
To the good life.
Okay, bye-bye. Steve Augeri, check him out on the Parti-Gras tour. Check out the new album, 7 Ways Till Sunday. And like he said, make sure to listen to the whole thing to really grasp it. And make sure to support all the guests by buying merchandise or tickets or even following them on social media. And of course, you can support our show simply by following us on social media, sharing our posts or episodes, liking and commenting. That'll help both social media and on YouTube. I appreciate all your support. Have a great day and shoot for the moon.